to watch for the moves, they're not hard to find. Strong arm tactics so loud, only themselves in mind. Every player has dreams of making Orca fame. They'll live on in the minds of those who get in their way. Orcas all say, don't come for me. Midler's roots, they're so vain. As we set up the podcast webcam, the pod is here to talk Orca game. Orca King CK with delusions of fame. In this LRG world, he's the apex predator. Danny and Jules in tow, always ready to go. Now it's time for the show, they're the apex predators.
Hello and welcome to the Orca Pod, the apex predators of Australian Survivor LRG podcasting. Here we are coming to you with our finale coverage of Sydney Survivor. Tonight we're going to go through the 5th place boot, the 4th place boot, talk to them both. We're not going to get into all the nitty gritty of the final trouble. We'll talk about the winner, of course. Next week we'll talk about the pros, the cons, the wins, the losses, everything at the final Tribal Council, and hopefully catch up with the winner and the 2 runners up. For those of you in Melbourne that are listening, do not forget Orca Drinks on me this Saturday, plus live reunion, plus Brommy handed out. A night and day not to be missed if you are in Sydney. If you are in Melbourne, even if you were in Sydney Survivor though, you are welcome to be there. I'm talking to you, Isabel. I'm talking to you, Tim. I'm talking to you, Tyrone. All of the people that Oscar wanted gone. We want you at our event because we like that you travel for Survivor. Just like I'm traveling to Melbourne for this event. Just like Danny is traveling to Melbourne for this event. And just like my fellow co-host for this evening will be traveling for this event. Let me bring her in. Welcome.
I will be traveling for this event.
Everyone is traveling for this event because it's
everyone's traveling. Yay! It's my first trip away, proper one, since I got back from Papua New Guinea.
That was only like 3 weeks ago. You're just a travel butterfly.
That was like 2 months ago.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Didn't realize that. Well, I count my life in Survivor episodes week by week, not by your transit plans. I apologize. But we are here to talk about this final week of this episode. Obviously, we need to start by congratulating the completely unsurprising winner that was Beck. This podcast has been going on about Beck's likelihood of success for some weeks.
We have. I mean, her game was superior, and I think that was obvious weeks ago. And I was fairly sure that she had it all locked up weeks ago. She had a game plan, and that was what set her apart. She had a game plan. She had a final 3 in mind. She had a longer term plan. No one else had a plan until the 11th hour. And I felt very sure that she was going to make it to the end, and I knew if she made it to the end, she had it in the bag. So I think it's super well deserved. I was stoked. Great. I thought it was a great episode. I actually thought the whole thing was good. There was a couple little twists in there that a little bit unexpected, and a deserving winner won the game. It was all good feelings.
I guess my only criticism was because the clear likelihood of a Beck win when ultimately she wins the final immunity. It did, like I was saying, I didn't get a little bit of surprise, and I don't get too much into the final trouble, but I was fairly clear the game was sewed up at that point. Not only did we have our own opinions that we'd formed over many weeks, and of course our opinions as orcas are always right, and so it was clear that she was going to win, but even Chris, who we were having some doubt as to his awareness of Beck's potential win equity, was obviously very aware of Beck's very clear win equity and would have clearly voted her out had he had the opportunity to do so. Like, I don't think that's any question.
Yes, but he needed to have done that weeks ago. It was too late. By the time he finally accepted how likely it was going to be that she was going to take out the win, it was really too late. She was too strong, and she showed that by winning that final tribal council final immunity challenge when she needed it the absolute most. And the boys left it too late. You can't leave it too late.
In retrospect, do we think, and this is bold, but should they have voted out Beck where they voted out Mac? Is that too bold? Obviously, the answer is yes.
I think, yeah. I mean, yes. On paper,
Yeah,
obviously, yes.
in
Was that
hindsight.
ever going to happen? No. No,
Yeah.
I don't think that was ever going to happen. The way it kind of played out, I don't know how else it could have played out. They were never going to keep Mac over there for. It just wasn't going to happen. And their last shot was the Tyrone vote. And they were too close to Beck. I think there was still that sense of loyalty, and Oscar wasn't on board, and it left him with no option.
But what do you mean? Like, they didn't have a vote option there because Beck was immune. Like, if Beck wasn't immune, she's getting voted out there at 4th.
I still don't know that would have happened.
Well, Chris and Tyrone are definitely doing it.
Yes, but I don't know that Oscar would have flipped. I think, in fact, Oscar would have voted with Beck to make it a tie. I still don't think he quite understood what a final two fire, a fire making challenge or whatever it was going to be, the tiebreaker. But I still think he would have voted that way to force their hand to make it a challenge. I just don't see a way that Beck wasn't going to make it to the end with or without the immunity, really. I think Chris had seen the writing on the wall, but I don't think it meant the same thing. The writing meant the same thing to Oscar that it did to Chris.
I really feel like that Chris could have convinced Oscar in that scenario.
I'm not sure that anyone convinces Oscar of anything.
Yes,
I think Oscar just does whatever Oscar feels in that moment, whatever the vibe is.
I'm not saying that's wrong. It'll be interesting to get other people's take on this, but I do believe, and we'll have to see that there was the potential, real potential for a final 3, and I would say a very interesting final 3 with Tyrone, Chris, and Oscar had Beck not won immunity, because I don't know who's winning that game. I think we'll discuss that in our final tribal coverage later. But congratulations to Beck. Let's go back to the start of the episode, talk about the beginning of the episode and the lead up to the first boot of the episode. Did you have anything that really took to you about the start here and the beginning of Mac's downfall?
The beginning of Mac's downfall?
I
feel like Mac had been on a downfall for the majority of the game. The fact that Mac made it to where he made it was one of life's true miracles. And I think it goes to his likability and his ability to bluff. And, Mac played a really entertaining game, but it was never going to be a winning game. And I think he did super well to make it to 5, truly. And he had nothing to sell. I mean, he'd had nothing to sell to them for vote after vote after vote. And he still gave it a really good crack when he knew that he was next. Offering to be a shield, offering to, I'm not actually even sure what he was offering, really. But it was a good way to go out. He went out fighting.
Firstly, he went out fighting in the challenge, a very, very close challenge. I do have to say that the concept of throwing quotes into a crate is perhaps the easiest throw challenge I've probably ever seen in my entire life.
I didn't
Because-
love the challenge. I thought there was so much at stake, and it just didn't feel like a fitting challenge for a final
Like, why-
5. But
Why was it not quoits onto a quoit stick, which is much more challenging?
and maybe 5 quoits instead of 2.
Oh,
And
I
maybe
still
make
think you
them
could
run a
have
little
got
bit
5.
further and get some more from some other places.
I think you could have got 5 into a box without easy. Because the thing is that like boxes are hard if you're throwing a bouncy ball. Like that's fine. Quoits are like the easiest thing to throw. The only thing that's hard to throw them is on a stick. Anyway,
Yeah,
really
I
love
would
the
have
challenge.
thrown them on a stick, and I would have added more quoits, and I would have made them do more running and go into the water and get more wet and just more.
And then the run should have been further. The crate should have been further. From Nate from Mac. Shane actually going back to what we said earlier. He doesn't think Oscar could be swayed in a final 4, which is interesting. I'm not sure if we're going to get Oscar on the show, but if we do, I'd love to get his take on what he might have done. Mac wanted a swim component. Yeah, I think that would have been good. They could have swum out to that pontoon thing in the middle.
Yep, agreed.
So I don't think the challenge was great. Oscar wins. Mac's still not giving up. He's now talking to a fake idol. He's had so many idols in this game, he might as well pretend he's got another one. He's just saying he's going to play it on himself. And then he even discusses with Tyrone, hypothetically playing it on Tyrone for some reason. Just because he says play, I could play it on you maybe, that's the strategy. And then of course he's throwing Beck under the bus hard with Chris. I don't know if Chris, maybe this is where Chris starts forming the view about Beck that he has in the next boot. But certainly Max starts selling very hard at this point the dangers of Beck to Chris. Oscar's, just he's spinning off the pad at this point. It's just where he starts talking about maybe just what's the next one? He's like, oh, I actually really like Mac. I don't want to vote Mac off. Maybe I won't vote Mac off. I'm enjoying our little feud, even though I won all the challenges because that's all that matters.
Oscar brought so much energy in this episode.
I don't like it because I want to give one to
Tyrone.
I
know you didn't like it. As I watched it, I knew you wouldn't like it.
And Oscar's never even shown up to the fucking podcast. So he's never watched. I don't even know if he knows that we exist. Now, that in itself is quite orca, but it's not the kind of orca that I can abide.
Tough. Showing up to the podcast doesn't make you orca.
Gives you a little bit. I could potentially game it if I want and give 2. If we're going to do coverage in 2 eps, I could potentially do 2 Brommies. I personally would like to retrospectively give Tyrone the 1 vote for 6 because I think he deserved it. But maybe I will.
You're being biased.
Biased? I've met the guy once. I just think he's a cool dude who should be getting a Brommy at some point.
You can't just give a Brommy just because you like him and think he's a cool dude.
You're being biased because he dragged you to hell that one time.
That's not true. That is not true.
I'm pretty sure it is. Okay, so Mac trying to fake it all out, but he ultimately, I think he's quite saddened. There's 2 people that are very saddened at this vote out. One is, of course, Isabel, who reacts like her child was just murdered in front of her. Her emotional reaction is so severe that her child was literally murdered in front of her when Mac's torch was snuffed. But would I have expected any less of a reaction from Isabel?
No.
But
Isabel has given so much as a jury member.
Yeah, she's got those Eliza vibes.
Can you hear me echoing?
No echo for me.
It's echoing on my end. It's very distracting.
Are people getting an echo from Loz? I can just turn my speaker down. That might help. Is that helping now? When you speak, try now.
I don't know. Yeah, that's better. No, I can still hear it.
Well, is the audience? Let the audience let me know in the comments if you're hearing the echo. Because if you're not, Loz is just going to have to be a professional and live with it. Oh no, they're getting the echo. How?
Okay, I'll leave. I'll come back.
Okay. So we'll be left just with me, but that's perfectly fine. I can talk up the reasons why I think Tyrone should be getting this Brommy. No, we all know that's my view. We'll have to see. So in terms of what we have coming, we'll just do a little pause while I wait for Loz to return. As I mentioned, we'll be doing the coverage tonight up to the final Travel Council. We'll talk about the final cut and we'll interview Tyrone and Mac this evening. And then next week we will do the final Travel Council coverage and we will speak to the finalists. And then after that, of course, following up with the tea party. Who will be on the tea party? Which special few will find themselves on the tea party with Josh. And then after that, we'll have a catch up with production and the Orca will be awarded. The Orca will be crowned. There's already been a little bit of banter on the official Orca pages about who should be the Orca between Isabel and Mac.
Both deserving winners, in my opinion.
Mac was very disappointed. Isabel was devastated, but Mac was devastated because he played such a perfect game. Obviously not a perfect game because, he's getting votes left, right, and center. But a strong game of good strategic nous, good bluffing, using idols effectively, using idols to bluff, using fake idols to bluff, and then not putting one and one and makes two together for this vote, realizing he'd faked them out with an idol, which meant they were going to probably split with him and Tyrone with the votes on him. And if he had voted for Tyrone, he actually would have stayed. And he realized that basically as soon as he got voted out.
One to predict. In his position, I don't think the others really gave him much clue as to which way they were going to go. And in hindsight, if he'd thrown a vote on Tyrone, yes, he would have stayed, but that would have just been a luck vote. I mean, I think Mac played a great game as far as, finding advantages and idols and using them effectively, but he relied more on that than the social aspect. And that was his downfall in the end because people didn't want to keep him around at the end. They wanted him gone, whether because they thought they couldn't beat him or because they simply had better relationships with the other introverts. And that's where I know everyone loves the idols and all the advantages, but in the end, Survivor is still a social game. And it's those relationships that should get you the win. And in most cases, they do. He survived longer than Shane because Shane had played such a phenomenal social game that everyone, even Chris and Oscar, knew he was a threat. But I mean, I think Mac did really, really well to get where he got, given that most of the saves that he made to stay in the game were related to advantages.
All right, we've talked him up a lot this entire show, entire season, really, because he's been, to be honest, he's been a star. It's been an absolute star on this season. He promised. He was the prince that was promised. He said to me when I first met this guy, I'm going to be the Orca of Sydney Survivor. And honestly, it wasn't super evident pre-merge. Like right at the start, he's getting overshadowed by Ian, getting overshadowed by Isabel. And look, the votes have not been cast. The Congress has not been assembled. I do think that it is likely between him and Isabel. But he really did deliver some incredible Orca behavior throughout the season. We love to see it. It's what the pod's all about. He's not new to podcasting. He spent many hours podcasting, as he told us about frequently on Sydney Survivor, trying to advertise his podcast. As much as he said his favorite catchphrase, let's bring him in. Ring-a-ding-ding, the Mac Daddy is in.
Ring-a-ding-ding, bitches. Hello, guys.
Hey, Mac.
Hello, Zoe. Nice to meet you finally. It's been a while.
Has been a little while. Feels
Yeah.
weird. It feels super weird once you guys get here because I feel like I know you all already and we've never actually spoken.
No, well, that's it. We all characters on the screen and we all get to know, whoever we're watching at the time. And now I'm sure one day we'll meet in the LRG-related events, but it's good to talk to you now.
It is. And you did play a really unique game. You played the kind of game that we see, I think, in real Survivor. It was a game that was, you were brutal in your style of play, but it worked for you because that you were so authentic in it. And the fact that you were able to back it up with the idols and the advantages made you this character that people loved to hate and hated to love. And it got you so far. I mean, looking at you on paper, you should have gone back after Ian went, but you didn't. You're obviously charismatic and you're charming, and combined with your play style and your advantages, it drove you the whole way through the game. And I mean, obviously, you were bummed at the final 5, and I would have been devastated too. But I think you've played such a good game. Do you have regrets now? Or is it you feel better now?
Plenty of regrets. There's no doubt about that. There's plenty of, especially when the game finished, a lot of sleepless nights for months, thinking about like a lot of little moments that could have changed or predicted something different. But the ultimate one was at the end when, it was so obvious looking back at it now that I should have voted for Tyrone. And like the 2 previous votes were like a 4-4, then a 3-3, and I made it very clear like it's us versus them. So like, why wouldn't they split it on the 2 of us? But I had not seen that, and I'm like, we're just gonna work in a new little voting block, and we said Chris's name, and Beck was on board, and Ty was on board. I thought, we've got a thing here, but he was smart enough to put the vote on me, and I couldn't see it, which it annoys me. But you know what? Overall, no real regrets. I went to the game wanting to play a certain way. I don't like under the radar gameplay. Like I've been a fan of this show forever. I want to see certain things when I'm watching TV that entertain me, and I want to be that character, and I think I did that. I said in my pre-season interview, like, I don't want to give up my character for the sake of doing well at the game. Winning wasn't that important to me. Being a big character or the main character was the most important thing, and I think I achieved that.
I relate to entirely. That was entirely my strategy as well. I'd rather be.
I watched your season. I loved watching you because you're so like boss-like and just like authoritative, and like that's fun because you're memorable, right? There's half the people that play these sort of LRGs are so like under the radar. They just want to get near the end. It's like if you're not memorable, what's the point? If you don't win, what's the point?
That's Orca energy. That's just who we are.
That's exactly right. Exactly right.
Do you regret hug snubbing Chris on the way out?
You know what? I almost messaged him the other day watching it because I didn't know that at the time. Because as I stood up, I half turned and he stood up. So if I saw that, I'm not sure if I would have hugged him. But I mean, I was pretty certain I was going to get voted out. So I wasn't salty with them. I was more just like that was the point of the game where I had to go.
What was? Let's go back through some of the game and the big moments. You started the season quite baffled by your tribe. You thought they were old. You queried how you could possibly be the fittest person there. And then you found yourself on the outs. That this group that had formed with Ian at the head, you were not in the power. Was that a surprise to you? Did you think you would come in and be a leader of your tribe with numbers in the first instance?
Well, let's just talk about the age thing first, right? My back is still sore from carrying that tribe. Look, I was.
Is that what you did? That's not how I remember it.
Because they won so many challenges.
We did get the one win.
Just blitzed it.
Yeah, look, I was not in the challenges as much as I thought I would be good at them. But to your question, I did expect to come in and sort of be the leader because that's sort of my natural role in most things I do in my life. I am a confident person who can sort of take charge, and people generally are happy to fall behind me because it's, especially in Survivor, you want someone big in front of you, and like I'm happy to be that person because one, it's good airtime. Two, it makes you like a central character, and it's like, that's just who I am. I'm not going to die. I'm not going to like dumb that down. So I just assume like they're going to see me that way, and like they'll just do what I say. And then it really just unraveled real quickly. I'm like, Ian's the easiest vote we have because he was so like aloof and just He's a great guy. I love him now, but like at the time, some of the things he was coming out with, I'm like, surely we all see this is the first boot. And then, Nat, I was very close with Nat when she went. I was on the back foot instantly. Lucky, I had some good allies in Bell and Rissa who sort of vouched for me, and then we sort of got through that and turned the tables on Ian's crew, I suppose. But it was a bit of luck there too. Like it could have easily gone the other way.
And then,
that was the downside of having a whole tribe of extroverts, because on any other tribe, you probably would have had a tribe who would have been happy to fall in behind you. You're right. Most seasons of Survivor, everyone wants a shield straight away who's going to make them feel safe and be the bigger person. And you land on this tribe with some of the most extroverted people I've ever seen in my whole life. And they give you a run for your money. And instead of being the natural shield and the natural leader, you've almost got competition for other people kind of vying for that role. It's a bit of a...
Usually, like, nobody wants to be the leader. It's like, who's going to lead? Who's going to put their hand up in challenges? And I was doing all that. I'm like, who doesn't want to keep me around? Because I'm putting myself out there. I don't care at this point. Like, I'm already a target. And then, like you said, like the tribe is such a mix of people. They're like, I'll put this out there. This is one of the best LRG tribes in history. Like, this is, man, if we had gone further in the game and you got to know us a bit more, it's just a fantastic tribe. Like, some of the best 8 people you'll see. But we just couldn't win a challenge. We just couldn't win anything. So we just kept going back to tribal council. And like, I watched the finale and he goes through like the whole season of who got voted out. And it's like the first 7 people are wearing orange. And it's like, I went to the merge and there's 7 or 8 introverts there. Morgan is the only one who didn't make it. It's like, what chance did we have? So, without going too far, I'm very proud of how far me and Shane got, especially what we did on that day too.
Were you surprised? Did you know on the day, or did you only find out that Maddie had randomly flipped on you in the swaps in the special extra vote earn twist?
Yeah, no, I found that out. Like, so after the season finished, I still had the podcast at the time, and my podcast partner Buckles, he did like deep dives with everyone, pretty much. We had about, I think, 3 or 4 people didn't do it, but most people did. I found out in her deep dive that she had done that. I didn't even know. She didn't tell me, and she was telling him, and I was editing them later to release them. And I found out it was probably like 2 months later. I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked. I thought she was with me the whole time.
Are you releasing these deep dives? What's the situation here?
Well, the podcast has since shut down. I have them all stored on my phone. So if you want them, I've released them to the cast. If you want any of them, let me know. I'll give you who you want.
We can just release them all on the Octopod platform.
Oh, if you're happy to do that, yeah. Like they're long, but like Beck's one's like 4 hours. Mine's about 3 hours. Shane's is about 3 hours. Like they're proper.
What?
They're deep dives.
Oh my God.
Oh, they go into great detail. It's fun, but it was a lot of fun.
Audio only. We can just release them. That's
fine. There's audio. Yeah.
You put it.
Yeah, if you want them, I'll send them over.
Yeah. Also, the mutiny advantage. Belle, your best ally, hands you something, says, "Read it now." You weren't. Look, you might have gone that vote because Beck found that idol. It's possible.
Debatable.
It's possible. Like, it's conceptually possible. But before that happened, you would have felt you were safe in your numbers, and you were going to be able to vote out Beck. Shane and Marissa would continue. When you read that out in front of everyone and realize you're being swapped to basically a poor number position, if there was another vote on that tribe, that could have been very bad for you. How did you feel in that moment, realizing you've sort of been, I don't think she meant to put you in harm's way, but she potentially did?
Yeah, I was extremely annoyed at Belle. Even just reading it out, I was like in disbelief. I read like one line and looked at her, and it's like another line is like, "Are you actually kidding me? Am I actually doing this, Belle?" And she's like, "No, it's fine." I'm like, "Mate, like this is going to kill me." But in hindsight, like if we lost a challenge, she said she had a plan for it. Like Tim was, she thought her and Tim were very close. And as soon as I got there, I'm like, he's not really with you, because he pretty much said that to me. So look, I might have gone, but she might have gone as well. She wasn't really vibing with them. It's hard to say, but it didn't come to that. And it also gave me time to meet the introverts before the merge, which actually really was important. Me and Tyrone had a pretty good chat at that stage, and felt good with him. I did feel good with Tim. I met Chris. Like there was good connections, which actually did bear a bit of fruit later on.
And you got to show off your purple flannel.
Yeah, I had to have the flannel. So
but they did not appreciate. The introverts did not appreciate your flannel reveal. Did you realize you were on the wrong tribe and these were not your people when they did not appreciate your reveal?
I realized I was on the wrong tribe when I was trying to just chat with everyone. I'm just getting around to every person. I'm chatting with Tilly. I'm thinking, okay, like, don't know you yet. Let's meet. And she's like, oh, what do you think's going to happen over there? I said, well, Beck's probably going to go. And she gives me this look like it's my fault. It's like, oh, well, that's not really good. I'm like, I'm not even there, Tilly. And this is the start of why she hated me so much. So I didn't really appreciate that. But these were not really my people. But at the same time, I get along with most people. And yeah, the whole purple flannel, it didn't go off how I thought it would. But it was a good showy piece of teamwork. So
I liked it. It was good.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was great.
You bring the colours, you want to wear them.
Right, yeah. I bought these flannels just for this game.
Yes, especially
I don't
for
usually
the
wear
game.
Yeah, so I had all three, one for merch and each tribe, and it was great. I got the buffs as well, so it's nice to have the full set.
Yeah, that makes the whole set of everything.
Yeah,
and getting to wear them all as well. Actually, wear them in the game, not just collect them, but wear them.
Yeah, that's right. So it's nice.
I must say, you did do an exceptional job of finding so many advantages. You talked in a few confessionals, particularly by the end where you're really getting into yourself about how good you're playing, about how you're the only one working hard and you're the one finding the idols because you're the only one searching, and that may be true. You may have been searching the hardest, but it didn't seem to diminish your ability to build strategic connections. Maybe socially you didn't have the time. I don't know if it would have made a difference, to be honest. But you will still be able to work up strategic plans and get people on board, people like Tyrone to come over, people like Joe to decide to stick with your side for a vote or two deeper into the merge. How were you able to find all of these advantages while still putting in place strategic moves? Because in my experience, it's very hard to do both of those things.
Yeah, let's start with the advantages because I think there's a bit of survivor knowledge behind this. So most people know that you don't hide an idol in the same spot in real Survivor, right? So I had sort of used that same logic on our season. So when I got to the camp and you see me looking where the sticks with the X is, there's no idol there. I thought, okay, that's where Bex found her idol, I thought. So there's nothing. I sort of separated the camp in quadrants. So that quadrant was out. Then I actually found the idol walking back that path to take out that other quadrant. Shane had told me where he found his, which was in another quadrant. So after I played my second idol, I sort of only looked in that third quadrant. So the last quadrant to say, okay, it must be here because I wouldn't hide it anywhere else. So I sort of used that logic. It worked. But at the same time, I did spend a lot of time looking, but we sort of had plans in place, I guess. And when I say a lot of time, it's only 5 minutes out of about 30. So it is time, but it's not. You still have time to do things. Tyrone, we had slept overnight together, so we had time just to bond outside the game, I guess. And we actually, me, Shane, and Tyrone had a really good connection that night and that morning before the game had restarted. And Joe, I actually know Joe outside the game, not personally, but we'd played another org together that Eli used to run. So that was handy to have. Plus, her and Shane had a bit of a thing with the half idol, so she naturally came to our side because she voted out by them. Tyrone was tried to get voted out by them, so they had nowhere else to go but to us. So we used that to our advantage. And the thing that annoys me the most is if that final 8 vote is not a double vote, it's a single vote, we win that vote because we have the vote block. And the 4 of us probably run the game to the end, I'd say. We'd probably get the final 4. It's
But you also could have won that vote if Shane had used the vote block on the right person.
I know, and I always thought, what did we do wrong? And then watching it back, he actually says, we're not going to play it on Tilly. And I didn't realise that was said. I don't know how the wires got crossed. I actually don't know how we stuffed that up.
Having now been involved in running LRGs, do you realise how ridiculous your quadrant theory is? Why it might be sound in practice. Where these things are placed is not that organised.
Well, you know what? I'm lucky that I think Sam Green was the one placing them, and he's smart enough to know that because he hosted his Brisbane as well.
Okay.
I think he might have used that theory, you can't hide him in the same spot. Because I've since been a camp leader, and I sort of hit him in similar spots, and I was like, I didn't go to that theory, but it worked for me. I'm just going to claim it, and I'm going to run with that.
Loz, do you have some questions? I'm sure you do.
I mean, I can't remember all the stuff that you're talking about because a lot has happened over the last couple
Yes,
of
you
months.
cover this show, Loz.
So for me, what I hadn't seen that I saw so much in this season were live tribals, where it was you're going straight to tribal after the challenge or whatever else. You're not going to get any time to strategize, and then we're going to give you 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever it was, to sit at tribal and strategize. And that seemed to really shake up votes because a lot of the introverts seemed to come into tribal undecided or on the fence about how they were going to go. And the chatter at the live tribals seemed to kind of shift people one way or the other. That's how it kind of looked from a viewer's perspective.
Yeah.
What was it like? I mean, do you think was it a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't know how live they were. I think, okay, there's probably two that were live. The final six where it's the 3 versus 3, and we were going to vote out Chris. We knew that he had a banker vote. They had the information came back to us, and then Tyrone saw the bag and said, we can't vote for Chris. I said, you know what he has, but. So that one was, I guess, live, but yeah, either way, it's still 3 on Oscar or Chris. The other one was probably the final 9 where we literally had the challenge at Tribal, and then we did the vote. So that was just a mad scramble as it was. But I don't think, as much as they might seem live, they probably just. I took the opportunity just to make as much of a ruckus as I could and, just show shit against the wall, throw people under the bus, just try and break up the introverts. And it sort of worked. Like, you get under people's skin and they, if it doesn't work, it's still fun to watch, at least. Like, most tribal councils I find on, American Survivor, they're quite boring nowadays. So I didn't want that for our season. I want it to be a bit more of a show and, if I'm having a personal battle with people, at least it's something that you can watch. It's not just generic answers or trying to hide truth in answers. And it's well, let's just tell it how it is and see what I can get out of them. But probably those two were the only actual live ones, I would say.
Okay. Yeah, it's hard to tell because watching in the lead up to the tribals, a lot of the introverts seemed uncertain how votes were going to go. And then the back and forth at tribals, and then votes got changed and names got thrown out that we'd never heard before. And I thought there were some surprising outcomes mixed in there. So it's interesting to hear the two sides.
Yeah, I just think having 7 people of a 10-person merge, trying to work together is just really hard in a game where it's so short on time. Everyone's got their own opinions, I suppose. I wasn't part of the introverts, but there's 7 of them, right? They all have their own path to the end, and only a few people will get their way. So they just have to compromise, and maybe they weren't willing to, or they weren't that clear. I thought their alliance management was extremely poor. That's why me and Shay made it so far.
Mm. I don't know where we're going to go next, CK. My next question is, if you had made it through the final 5 vote, if you'd thrown the vote on Tyrone, Tyrone goes home. There's a final 4 now of you, Chris, Oscar, and Beck. How are you getting to the final 3? Who are you pitching to? How are you getting there? And when if you make it to the final 3, what are you selling to the jury?
To get to the final 3, I had to win the challenge. No one would have taken me. Those 3 knew that I would have won the game, and I have receipts on that. It's not my word. This is words of the deep dives. I would have beaten Beck in the final. She still denies that, but I have literal proof. You can hear the clips. So they wouldn't have taken me. I had to win the challenge. If I was there, I have the game to sell, and I have the jury, right? I have the people. They like me, right? As much as it seems like I'm divisive or I'm cocky, that's all partly true. But I'm charismatic at the same time. I had Bell and Shane. They were in my pocket. They would have voted for me no matter what. Tim told me if Beck's not there, he's voting for me. Tyrone worked with me. Joe, I know. Tilly's the only one that wouldn't vote for me. Even Oscar, you see him in the last few episodes, and Chris, to be fair, both of them, how much they like me now. And it's I had the respect because I played a certain way. And I think the respect of the jury goes a long way, even over resume points. But I had both, I think. I had a game that backed it up, especially against, no offense to Chris and Oscar, but their game sort of didn't really back it up. I would have voted for that.
Yeah, Shane's confirmed.
Shane, we know that. You know.
We knew that, yeah.
I want to talk about. I had it and I've lost it. I've lost it. Shane was enjoying your bluntness. You go, Loz. I've got to remember what I was going to say. You go. Got something?
I just think so. It really was messing up the vote, not throwing the vote on Ty. You very well could have won that final challenge.
Oh yeah.
And
Well, the thing is,
game's
Loz, I'm
yours.
not. I'm not. As everyone calls me a challenge beast, I actually suck at challenges, so I probably wouldn't have won the challenge either.
All right, I've got it now.
We'll never know. It doesn't matter.
The last
Challenge is broken.
episode, episode 6, you were completely. It was a baffling mixture of feelings where you tell Oscar that everyone's going to take him. He's going to win. He's not going to win. He's going to go and lose, and so you'll bring him with you. And then you say to like Shane in confessional, he's stupid not to come with us. I'm giving him final 3. But at the same time, you're telling him that everyone will give him final 3, and you're much harder to beat. So what was the logic that you were telling yourself about why Oscar should come with you?
So just to gain trust with him, my idea was to say, I have a legitimate reason to not vote you out. And that was because I want to take it to the end. I don't think Beck and Chris had promised that to him. They may have, but like I'm not privy to their conversation. So from my view, me and him are against each other. So I'm saying, hey, Oscar, we're against each other, but I'm not going to vote you out because it's only in my best interest to keep you in the game. That was my logic behind that. And I thought if I just tell him straight up, I've always wanted someone in Survivor to do this. And I actually thought it was a fantastic move. It almost worked. It didn't really not work, I suppose. Like, it didn't backfire. So I loved it, to be fair. But yeah, I just think the logic's there. Like, if someone says, I'm not going to vote you out because I'm going to take it to the end, I would also trust that person to not vote me out. So wouldn't you?
True. But you're also telling the guy that doesn't know much about the game that everyone's going to take him at the same time.
No, so that's the wrinkle. I didn't know he was not a fan at the time. I assumed he was, like the rest of us, knew the simple, basic logic of Survivor. He didn't know what Rocks was. So, yeah, it didn't really work that way because I didn't know.
However, it does feel, and you've done the deep dives, you heard the deep dives, it does seem that it wasn't, tell me if I'm wrong, it wasn't a throwaway vote for him to flip his vote just for shits and giggles on the revote with you and Tyrone. He was actually potentially trying to save you because Chris had voted for Tyrone on the first vote, which may have been a mistake. I'm not really sure from the edit.
I can't really remember. Yeah,
it seems like Chris may have once again voted wrongly because that's what Oscar said in his confessional. And then once he realized that it occurred, he flipped his vote on the revote, but it wasn't just for the fun of it or to make you think you had a chance for a split second, which I saw because you were packing your bag and then you put your bag down and you're like, oh my God, has something happened? And then you got the vote. Okay. But because you expected it 3-0. But I actually think he was trying at that last moment to flip it to Tyrone. And maybe it's for shits and giggles, or maybe it was the sort of things you'd said to him before.
Yeah, perhaps. Like, I do think Oscar respected me a lot in the game. Like, despite our rivalry, that's what he would say. He did have that healthy respect as a competitor. He beat me in everything. To be fair, good on him. But like, I was someone that he could at least banter with and just sort of have something with. Whereas he didn't have that with many people because he was extremely quiet in the game. Like, he barely spoke to like out loud. So.
Have you heard him considerably more now that you've watched the season? Like, you've heard so many more words.
I respect this game so much more now because he's actually saying things in confessional that are like he's actually got intentionality behind things and he's reading things that other people aren't. I'm like, oh, he's actually done a lot better than I had thought at the time, to be fair. Even hearing his deep dive, he didn't say this sort of stuff. And looking at it live, I'm like, oh, he's actually like in tune with how the game is fluctuating. So he's a much better player than I gave him credit for.
Is he a much, and this is I think the final question, because you are a large Chris truther. You've been a large Chris truther the entire season. We've been watching.
Yeah.
You saw Chris as the leader. You saw him as the man who could keep you safe. You were surprised when he was revealed as a GOAT. I was surprised, and we don't want to get too much in the FTC because we can do it next week. But like, I was surprised. I don't think Chris deserves 0 votes if Oscar's going to get 2. No offense to Oscar. Like, if Beck gets all the votes, that's fine. But I think it's a bit hard on Chris that he got 0 votes. What did you feel like that? Were you shocked on a member of the jury seeing Oscar get 2 votes and Chris none?
I was. On Chris's game, like Chris, when I thought he's a leader, within 1 vote, I'm like, okay, Tilly is the leader. But once sort of Tilly left, he's really emerged as something. And watching the season especially, he does a lot more than I think. So Chris is a much better player than zero vote finalist. That being said, Final Tribal Council, Oscar, he probably didn't notice it on the edited version, but he really was swaying people. I considered voting for Oscar. His pitches were actually pretty good, whereas Chris is really. It's sort of. I was going into tribal thinking I'd vote for Beck. I was open to Chris. Chris really closed that door real quick. His answers weren't. They weren't succinct enough. They weren't to the point enough. They weren't really answering the question. Even the one I asked him, he just went on a tangent about something else, which was really nice, but it wasn't what I wanted to hear from him. He wasn't claiming moves or claiming his game enough. So I was surprised he got none because I thought he might get Tilly. I'm surprised Oscar got two, but at the end of the day, I think everyone will say Beck was hands down. She deserved it more than anyone that was sitting there for sure. So we got the right winner in the end.
Well, thanks, Mac, for being a very entertaining player. You promised me you'd be bringing the Orca energy when I saw it. You certainly did bring the Orca energy. I'm sure we'll see you again on some more coverage. Tea Party guests are yet to be confirmed, but I'm sure you will be one of them. And then, of course, we may see you on our screens once again in a few weeks when we hand out the virtual, before we hand out the physical, Bromley medal for the Orca of the season. It may be you. You'll certainly be high in contention, but I can't speak for the whims of the Congress. They have minds of their own more than any other group of people you might see because they're all orcas, and I can't tell them what to do.
That's fair. Before I go, I just want to say thanks to both of you and Josh and Mark and Dom came on. I think just everyone that does this, this is what after 3 years of waiting for the season to come out, you have a certain think of it's going to be like that, and everyone on social media is going to interact with it, and it's a little bit not like that. It's a little bit hollow, but having you guys on a Monday night, the weekend's over, I look forward to Monday nights. It was great just to hear it back and sort of analyse the game and just have something to talk about things with. So I really appreciate the work you guys do, and hope the rest of the episode's good. Hope Tyrone's a bit of fun later, and look forward to next week as well. So thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Matt. Cheers.
Thanks, Matt.
Some of the stuff that Oscar was doing in this episode, and I understand why there's a push that maybe he should be the Brommy. Some of his behavior were about the vote, and then there's some stuff in this next episode where he talks about how he's in the final four and he's never watched Survivor, and that's just how shit everyone else is.
Oscar has some great confessionals, really, really orca confessionals this episode. A whole stack of them too, not just one or two. And he was out there about his rivalry with Mac. He totally backed himself in a final three and actually brought it and managed to get 2 votes, which is, I don't think anyone thought he was going to get any votes. It was a different side. It was the Oscar I thought we were going to see right from the start of the season. It was the reason I picked him. I feel like he just saved all of it until the final episode, but I feel like we got all of it.
Yeah. And then the introverts are obviously all very excited that they've made a final four together. I think Chris at this point obviously realizes that he must win this challenge. There's a bit of almost controversy with this challenge, if you're happy to jump to there.
Sure.
So Sydney Survivor, as you may or may not know, Loz, has a history with puzzle controversy. Famously, in the merge of Sydney 1, contestants thought that the puzzle had to be arranged in the order that it was shown to them, which actually made sense because it was just a bunch of colors. But Luke was given the win after simply just putting them in the slots willy-nilly. So what I'm told here is that the group, my production insights, that the Beck and Tyrone side were told they had to blue tack their puzzle down, which is what they did. And I think you could see at the start.
You could
Tyrone
see it.
Was fiddling with something. It was the blue tack.
And so was Beck. I was wondering what it was like they were pulling something off
But the other side were not told they had to blue tack. So Chris and Oscar weren't blue tacking. So if Chris had won, which he almost very, very nearly did, it would have been incredibly controversial because obviously Beck took longer doing the blue tack. It's very good that she won because if she'd lost to Chris and got voted out, that would have been a controversial outcome.
Would have been. That would have been terribly controversial. How was that miscommunicated?
Well,
What?
maybe
Why would
Tyrone can tell us when he comes on. But this is what I've heard. This is what I've heard.
that's disastrous at a Final Four challenge? My God, I would lose my mind.
Thankfully, she won, but it also makes it more impressive what she did because obviously it's a lot easier if you can slide all the pieces around.
Yeah, heaps easier.
Yeah, and also I don't understand why they're making the blue tacket anyway. Maybe it was windy. I don't know.
Windy?
But it just seemed it just I wouldn't have made them blue tacket. That's weird.
It's a slide puzzle essentially, really. I mean, it's like, I know they didn't do it as a slide puzzle, but it's exactly the kind of logo puzzle that they do as a slide puzzle, right? You kind of would slide around the board. They just gave it to them as a jigsaw puzzle.
I like this challenge though. This controversy aside, this is Loz, you love this is old school Survivor. They run to various stations, they get a thing, the puzzle pieces, they take it back to the middle, they do the puzzle. You know, they have to do obstacles. This is old school Survivor, or at least middle school. Do you feel this? No, old school Survivor standing on the lot for 5 hours. Old school standing on the lot
Yes,
for 5 hours.
I see what you were saying. Yeah, I do
Good.
see what you're saying. And we had a very similar one in Melbourne 4 most recently. The run out, do the little obstacle course, grab your thing, run back. They're great. I think they're great challenges, especially if you're good at things like balancing and obstacles and puzzles, which I am. I look at a challenge like that and go, oh, something I'll be really good at. Yeah. And it was much more impressive than the previous challenge, which had just to me been a total disaster. So at least it gave us a little bit more competition, a little bit more, it was a bit more tense. It was a bit more, to the line. So yeah, I thought it was a pretty good challenge.
And I thought I agree. It was a really good challenge, and I've got some other insight that I don't know how if they drew for places or they drew and got to pick their place. But Beck chose a place where she could get, I've been told, to the balance beam first, and strategically went to the balance beam first because she knew that was going to be a location where you would get some roadblock with people falling off and then having to wait and blocking other people, which is exactly what happened to Chris and to Oscar, which ultimately, blue deck aside, cost Chris the win because he had to wait for Oscar and then before he would have his turn. So I think that's really, really smart from Beck to identify the one location that was probably going to be more of a roadblock than the other obstacles.
Absolutely. And I think it just is another reflection of Beck thinking at, all particular aspects of the game. She was across the board the strongest player. It wasn't just social. It wasn't just strategic. It wasn't just advantages. She did really well in challenges. I think you have to be, her answering one of those questions at Final Tribal, which we'll talk about next week, but is it social, strategy, physical, or luck? Well, it has to be all. It has to be all 4 of them. And if the luck is against you, you have to make the other 3 work even harder for you. That's really the game of Survivor. You have to be a triple threat. You really shouldn't just be good at one thing.
And then Tyrone, I think, does a really good effort of doing what he can to try and convince this vote to go another way. He knows he's really up against it. He sells to Oscar that he's unlikable, that people don't like him. He's really trying to talk up his orciness here to get himself into the game. Bit of a hate goat vibe that no one will want to vote for. Oscar sort of.
But it wasn't true, and everyone knew that it wasn't true. it's such a hard sell when you're trying to sell yourself over the person who's going to win the game. But if you replace the person who's going to win the game, you're going to win the game and everyone knows it. I think it would have been just like Mac trying to sell it or Shane trying to sell it. They all would have taken the game out. If it had been a final three with Oscar, Chris, and any of those four, Beck, Shane, Mac, or Tyrone, I think any one of those four would have taken it out. So how do you sell it? It's a tough sell. He gave it his best shot.
I liked when he was trying to sell it to Beck, and he's like, no one likes me. I haven't done anything, and she's like, yeah, you've made moves, like you like flipped here and flipped here. He's like, yeah, but I was sort of like just. I was reactive. Like I was just made to do those moves. Like they weren't really moves that I did. And then he just starts laughing at the absurdity of what he's saying. Like he can't give a straight face about this nonsense.
No, you got to say something. I mean, what do you do? Either you fight the good fight, knowing it's you're out anyway, or you roll over and just accept your fate. And he had the time. You might as well. It's just exactly like Mac. You might as well just give it a crack. And you never know. Maybe a stray vote goes somewhere. Maybe a twist comes up. But I think the writing was on the wall.
Can I tell you what his only viable pitch would have been that I don't believe he made? And he can tell me if he thinks this is worthwhile. He should have pitched to Chris that Chris needs to bring him, Tyrone, because Oscar can't take any votes off Beck. Obviously untrue, but that would have been the perception. And Tyrone can possibly take votes off Beck, and there's no way Chris is winning with a majority. Like he's gonna have to, for Chris to win, it's gonna need to be like a 3-3-2.
That is not how I would have sold that to Chris at all. I actually think that would hurt his feelings.
What?
Chris, I think it would hurt Chris's feelings. Like I think Chris really did have. I think he was proud of his game, and I think that he was proud of the moves that he'd made, and that.
But he knew he was losing to Beck. He knew this.
Well, I don't know. I think he still thought he had a shot with it, and I don't think from what I have seen of Chris saying to him, "Hey, Beck's going to kick your ass, and the only way you've got any hope is if maybe somebody else steals a few votes off her at the final. You probably still won't win, but because your game was just not that good." I just don't think that would have. I don't think Chris would have responded positively to that.
But then you could be like, that's his. So you send me to fire against Oscar, and that could be a big move because you brought me here to steal votes. It's like 4D chess gameplay, and then
no, I think you're overthinking it.
If it's 3-3-2, you will vote for Chris on the tie vote, the Ghost Island vote.
Yeah, look, you're overcomplicating it. And Chris did not. His mindset was a more simple mindset as far as how to get to each step of the way. That didn't make sense. I didn't even understand that. You just explained it to me in simple terms.
That's because it's new school Survivor, Loz. It's not old school Survivor.
Oh, that's right. We're now speaking a different language. No wonder I don't understand. And also I don't care. So cool story.
Cool story, bro. But imagine him trying to sell that plan to Oscar. That would be hilarious.
Oh my god! I'm just picturing it now.
Those complicated like org plan you can come up. That's org level shit because it's the sort of shit you come up with in orgs when you.
Oh yeah, in org when you have way too much time on your hands and nothing else to think about 24/7 except your org. Yeah.
That is all shit. All right. I want to talk about his final words because I think, I stand by. I want to, I want this Brommy to go, and I think his final words are the most Orca words we've had of the season. He said he achieved his goals because he made someone cry and he upset production. Tell me that's not Orca.
Yeah, but where was that the whole way through?
It was there.
At the start of the game, say, okay, like I'm here to choose violence, make people cry and piss off production. And as long as I do those things, then I've achieved all my goals. And then you can get to the end of the season and go, see what a badass I was. I did all those things. You can't just throw it at the end. I mean, who did he make cry? Isabel.
Was it Isabel? We'll ask him. I think it was Isabel. Let's throw up the graphic. I've been so excited that we got to see Tyrone on our screens ever since his injury forced him out of playing Uncharted Waters.
Melbourne,
We have wanted to see him play one of these games. I was with him at the Traitors launch for Annabelle's season of Traitors, a special event that she had with some of the other Traitors players in Melbourne, when Tyrone got his email saying he would be on this season, and I was very excited for him. I said, I don't think you're supposed to be telling me that. I'll keep it a secret. And I did, but not till now. And because I could be on that season, which of course I wasn't. But congratulations to you, Tyrone. I was so excited to see him here, and I think he really delivered. I think he was a fantastic contestant on this season. Let's bring him in. Welcome.
God, Rebecca.
You're muted. There we go. Can we hear you? Talk. I can't hear you. Okay, ditch the headphones. Ditch the headphones. Unplug them. Unplug them. Are they unplugged? Now unmute yourself. I've got nothing. I got nothing. Change your
Microphone.
Change your microphone input. All right. So you could also try coming back on a phone.
Is that why we can't understand him, CK?
yeah, he's gonna come back on the phone. That's sometimes the tech doesn't work, but we roll on.
My goodness, Rebecca was so excited just then when she found out Tyrone was on. She just launched across the table to see him. Did you see that?
I didn't see that, but that's exciting. And then let's talk about your cat. Why has it got a normal name? Are you a normal name pet people?
No. So Rebecca was from the Canberra Street Cat Alliance, and her sister went to a foster family, and they let their kid name the kittens. And his swimming teacher's name was Rebecca, so he called her Rebecca.
Okay, fair enough. You could just change the name. My cat's had like 20 names. My kids keep changing.
No, it's her name. Why would you change her name?
Just different nicknames all the time.
This is Becky Girl.
My cat went from, this is riveting television. My cat went from Jinx to Swedo to Sweds Malish to.
So you've just given your cat a complex about who they are inside, and no, I didn't change either of my cats' names. I kept their names.
Can we hear you now, Tyrone?
Yes, can you hear me?
Woo!
Yeah!
Wow, oh my God, how embarrassing.
No, it's all good.
I wouldn't be embarrassed. It happens to me all the time.
The People's Champion,
as they all know,
has arrived.
Hey.
The man who's brought the drinks to Sydney. Congratulations.
I'm so bummed that I can't make it either. So what a shame. But good of you to do that, and thanks for picking me.
Hang on, what can't you make it to?
The drinks.
On Saturday.
No, I'm coming this Saturday. I can't go to the one in Sydney.
We haven't even got a date for the one in Sydney.
Well, I'm not going to Sydney for a drink.
Wow. Well, there we go.
Wow, CK.
Do you not travel to Sydney occasionally for work or something?
Oh no, I avoid Sydney as much as possible.
Yeah, not a fan. Okay, but you found yourself.
Sorry, were you expecting me to say nice things? I apologize.
About Sydney, I don't care. I don't fucking live in Sydney. Okay. Though I do like it more than Melbourne. Sorry, soz Melbourne.
That's okay. We don't need you to like everything.
Mm.
I appreciate you wanting this vote from me, though. It's very touching.
Well, thank you. I think I'm getting outvoted by the fans. You should have just got that episode 6 one. I'm annoyed that we gave it to Nat because like we're feeling like on such a strong emotional roller coaster with her boot.
Yeah.
But
Well,
here we are.
I'll learn to faint next time or pass out in the next game that I play.
No, either way, that's how you get yourself in.
Yeah.
See, this is the stats that I'm talking about, Loz. Now, before we get into the episode, do you want to have your moment, Loz, about being dragged to hell with Tyrone?
No. We're going to talk. We'll talk about that on Saturday.
Yeah, that's it's ancient history.
It is. It's got nothing to do with this game.
Is it? When you got to your tribe, I felt like there's a lot of discussion. We went through the game that Shane was the introvert on the extroverts tribe, and there was some discussion that you were the extrovert on the introvert side. It's good to leave it like that. Did you feel that when you got to this tribe? Did you see anyone that it didn't feel like you easily connected with the tribe originally?
Okay, so I have this thing, and I think you guys talked about it in the last week, but I've noticed this pattern for myself where I automatically seek out the alpha female when in a game, and I think Loz was that person in the game that we played together. In this game, it was Tilly. In the game that I played with Annabelle, it was Annabelle. So I find it a lot easier to be my authentic self when I'm with someone that I can vibe off really easily and just don't need to pretend. And it didn't occur to me that Tilly wasn't necessarily going to be as close to me from our perspective. She did mention at the start. She said, Tyrone's been trying to align with me, and that was true. Like I was literally going, let's be an alliance together. But the others, I kind of just didn't give them the same amount of energy. I think purely because it was like, okay, well, we've given you this label of introvert, and we were kind of expected to wear that badge, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I was happier though. What Max said was true. Actually, when I looked at the other tribe, I was like, God, I'm glad I'm on this tribe.
So how long did it take you to realize that Tilly was not invested in your relationship? It feels like you only gave up on her like halfway through the merge.
No. That was because I think when I've been told that she voted against me at the
double vote.
At the double vote, or maybe the Tim vote potentially as well.
Vote, yeah, the production.
Yeah, and it didn't occur to me. I thought, like I was still happy to play with her up until that point. When we got tribe swapped, it was me and Tim on the other side. I was hoping that I could reconnect with them later on. But in my head, I was playing with Tilly. I was playing with Tilly and Oscar. In my head.
And did you find it funny watching it back, where you're sort of there in her peripheral, but clearly not a key component of her plans?
I mean, I don't know if funny's the right word. Like I mean, it was an eye opener, I guess, and it was more apparent watching it back that I kind of was kind of playing by myself. But look, I mean, it took me to 4, so it can't be bad. Like, can't be sad about that.
And it didn't get tested. And that's the other really hard thing when you're on a winning tribe that wins and wins and wins and wins. You don't test those alliances, those relationships to see how they stand up under any kind of pressure. And it was a while. I mean, after that first vote, where Joe got randomly, booted, it was ages before introverts went back to tribal again. And really, by the time you did, that was when it became clear that that relationship wasn't as tight as you had thought, I guess. Would you agree?
Yeah. And to be honest, I think I could have very easily gone in that first vote as well, because watching it back now, I think I was the name up until the very last minute. And it wasn't until Tilly decided that she didn't want to go with the other guys. And then I think if Chris had have voted the right way, then Morgan would have actually gone out first. So it was a mess. It was a mess, that tribal. And I mean, I'm lucky that it kind of went the way it did. So Tilly did vote with me in that vote, I think, because she understood that she had a cluster of people wanting to work with her, whereas there was, now that you look back on it, there was an obvious trio of Morgan, or Amber as she was called, justice for Amber, and Beck and Tim, who were working together. And then Chris wasn't with them. Chris was supposed to be voting with us.
Yeah.
Yes, and then he made a mistake apparently.
Yeah.
We're going to jump right to the end. Is this blue tack story true that I've heard from these whispers?
Yeah, so if you remember watching the episode, there's a lot of wind actually, and in the audio you could even hear it. So where Beck and I were standing, we were in the tunnel, the wind tunnel, whereas the way Chris and Oscar were standing, they were actually protecting their table, so they didn't need the blue tack. So, like, thinking about it now, I'm confused as to why they didn't position the tables the same way, because, like I said, they gave us blue tack so we could keep the pieces down, but Chris and Oscar didn't need it on theirs. But I mean, maybe a comment for production next time: don't use paper or cardboard puzzle pieces that can blow away.
So I see the issue is they gave you the blue tack as an assistant,
Yeah.
but without the thought that made it more time consuming.
Slowed
to
it
do the
down.
table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the pickup on Beck choosing to take the balance beam obstacle first was actually it was closer to her station, but out of the other three obstacles, I clocked it straight away. And I was like, Beck said, oh, I want to do this first, and I could very easily have said, oh no, I want to do it first, because at the time we were talking about who goes where. Beck spoke up first, and I opted, because I mean, I'd mentioned it earlier that I was wanting her to be in the end. I kind of did the gentlemanly thing and said, okay, well, fine, you take it, because I knew that whoever did that wouldn't have to worry about sorting their balance back, because I think the other three obstacles made you do things that would mess with your inertia and then ruin your balance for the actual balance beam. Because if you notice, Beck didn't sleep. She didn't like sleep off that at all. Whereas me, Chris, and Oscar all slipped because we were doing the other things. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. It was very clear, and I believe you 100% at the final six that you wanted Beck you didn't want the final five to be all men. I'm not saying you were considering Beck at the final five, but in a final four scenario where you or Chris was immune, or even Oscar, would you have voted with a Chris against Beck there, or did you want Beck in the final no matter what?
No, I think, and I think I would have wanted to beat Beck at the final. It wasn't a case of keeping her out because I knew that she would beat me. If she was in the finals, it would have been wanting to beat her on my merit and my ability to persuade the jury to vote in my favor rather than hers.
Okay.
And that's, she was, for me, it was going to be the vote in that final four would have been Chris. If I had my way, Chris would have been the vote out. I think Oscar for us, well, I don't know, I didn't realize how good he was going to be with his pitch, but I feel like I would have been able to put up a very eloquent argument versus what Beck had put up, versus what Beck had delivered, because to me it didn't seem like she was playing the same way I was, and I would be able to give her a counter argument to the way she was playing.
That, give us that pitch. So we're your jury, your final three, you're doing your opening statement, just throw it at me.
Oh my God. I probably shouldn't have said that. Well, look, realistically, like, you have someone who's playing safe. Even in that 3-3 vote, they wanted to play together and be like introvert strong. Ultimately, that wasn't the most important thing for me. I did want Beck to get through because I wanted the representation in the final, but I think that shows the just the courage on my part and the integrity on my part to want to be able to beat someone who I think is actually the best player in this game, or who would have beaten me, rather than someone who, and no offense to the way Chris played, but like, it wasn't so obvious to us when we were playing that Chris was also playing very quietly in his own way. The pitch that he gave was awesome. And I actually said this to Chris after the fact. Well, I wrote into our group chat that was so he was so wholesome in his final speech that it did it could have appealed to some of the jury who were looking for that. But you have people like Mac and Tilly and even Joe. I'm surprised. I'm glad that they added that comment that she made, that if I was in the finals, that the vote may have not have been her vote, might have not have been for Beck, because I think there were things that people were looking for, and you did say it as well. Like my pitch to Beck at the time was, put me on there with you because people don't like me, but I knew at the back of my mind that there would have been ways for me to twist that argument in my favor.
That was not it. Was that true when you just broke out laughing that you showed this is falling apart? Like she's not fucking into this.
Yeah, couldn't you tell I was I was completely ruining that tree from how obvious it was that I was lying through my teeth, and the tree was copying the brunt. It was like tearing strips off the tree.
And that's the difficulty, is that by that point in the game, everybody knows your ability to articulate yourself, articulate your moves. They have a read on how convincing you are. And it's really hard to sell anything at that point that's inconsistent with everything that's happened to there. You're almost at a disadvantage where your prior game is now completely taken
Ruined.
over, and nothing you say is going to change those perceptions.
Yeah. I also want to say that I think the final three was pretty much wrapped up based on the loyalty that those three had with each other. I think Beck's best move was getting super close to Chris and Oscar, and getting them in her pocket, because what you guys were talking about earlier about, pitching to Chris, let's go this way because I could have taken votes off Beck and blah, blah, blah. Those boys weren't playing that way. They were playing the loyalty game. And to me, to an extent too, because at the end, I don't know if you remember me saying this, but I was like, oh yes, I'm glad the introvert wins this because someone from my original tribe wins the game. And that's what I actually wanted. That's why, eventually I made that choice between Shane and Oscar. Was like, well, how do I want this to end? I want an introvert to win the game. And looking back at it retrospectively now, I think it would have been so cool to force it to go to Rocks, because that would have just been an amazing episode to watch. In the moment, though, my thinking was, do I want an introvert to win or do I want an extrovert to win? And I wanted an introvert to win.
Sure.
And I think that's a reflection too on some of the personality traits of introverts versus extroverts, because you were thinking about your tribe as a whole and seeing an outcome where the introverts won as a whole by having an introvert winner. Whereas I do look at the extroverts and think they were probably looking and going, I don't care if an extrovert wins. I only care if I'm the extrovert who wins.
Yeah. And the funny thing was, I was gonna say that the jury was full of extroverts by that point, and it was like, well, who are they going to like the best out of all the remaining introverts, right?
Yeah, it's fascinating. It was fascinating to watch it play out. And what you said about the loyalty with Beck, Oscar, and Chris, and this is the argument I've been having with CK for weeks. He still believes that Chris would have tried to take out Beck and Oscar might have flipped, and I just don't believe it. And the fact that you've said that, everything I've seen says that for them the loyalty mattered. And I still believe, do you think Chris believed he could beat Beck, or he had a good enough pitch that he had a chance, or he was just happy to go to the end with that loyalty intact?
No, I think if you watch it back, he makes a comment about, I didn't even think I'd get past or get to merge or something. Like, I think he was playing the step-by-step game versus like the end game, or like looking that far ahead, like, oh yeah, I'm starting the game but I want to win it. And I think a few of us actually play that way. People like Mac definitely are playing to win. Not just the game, but even like, the Orca of the season, which I had no idea about. So it's pretty cool that you guys do this. Oh, so that's the other thing I wanted to say is this has been super fun watching the Monday catch ups. Like, it has been a highlight, because Mondays after Game of Thrones, this is the first thing that I get onto, and it's it's super entertaining. But I'm gonna miss it. After all the catch ups.
Well,
But yeah,
we're on every week basically talking about something, so you can still watch us even if we're not
well,
talking about you.
well,
And
well,
don't worry,
being that
I didn't know what the orca thing was, and I'm still not entirely sure what it means. I won it, and it took me 12 months to work out that it meant something. I don't think I realized till I was on the pod. But your point about the end game, having that end game plan, that was another thing that kept standing out to me was we seem to get post merge and no one, I mean, other than a couple of individuals seem to have any thought about end game. Normally by merge, people are already, going, you're my final three. You and I, we're going to the end, we're going to take this person. And even though those might shift, there's a plan, but we got right through to final, 5-4. And there was still not a clear, I think Beck seemed to have a clear idea in her mind of her final three. But I mean, what were you picturing? Did you have a plan for your final three, or was it really just vote by vote?
yeah, good question. So personally, I approached it the same way that I approach tennis because I'm a tennis player and I play every point on its merit. So I don't go into a court going I'm going to win because otherwise you come out being disappointed. So I approached this game the same way. I was like, well, I'm going to go in, do my best, like try to get to the next point, because once you look past that, then you get too far ahead of yourself. You've got to get to the next point first. But definitely Beck, Mac, like the people who you guys have clocked to have had made plans did the best because they were putting in foundation. For me personally, a lot of my agency was taken away when I was given the phantom vote, and that really fucked up for me the rest of the game, because I was like, well, I don't know where the alliances lay now because we got these random votes and people just piled on. So that kind of creates so much doubt in your head about who's actually playing with you. And I could have gone that vote. So that, I mean, it's a shame it had to happen. And I think that this is something that needs to kind of be discussed in this catch up too, because the only reason it happened was I happened to say to Tim, and I think he mentioned this, that the comment I made was, I'm super impressed at how much effort these guys are putting in. And that's what Byron saw me say to Tim, and literally came over and just yelled at us. And I'm like, whoa, dude, I was actually paying you guys a compliment. We weren't talking strategy. Like, I have enough respect for what you guys are doing to not try to, like, who needs to try and cheat to win this game? Like, what kind of person are you to do that? But anyway, it really kind of put a bad taste in my mouth for a couple of hours after the fact, and it kind of led to the other argument that I had with them later in the day.
What was the other?
So we broke the flint. And then none of the two camps had fire, and then Nat had her episode, and I basically was saying to them, like, you guys are just going to leave us out here, like, just fucking put the fire together. It's not like it's going to change the story of the game if we're sleeping out in the dark, or if we're sleeping next to fire. Like, if anything, you're just going to get better content if we're all comfortable tomorrow rather than having us all pissed off. And at that point, like, I'd been around strangers for almost 24 hours, and I'd lost my tolerance. So what you were saying, Loz, earlier about, well, why weren't you this cunt at the beginning of the game? Well, I needed that time to build up to being intolerant to everybody.
Oh,
Did
yeah,
they
that's
make
I
a
was
fair
still
point.
Did they make
I
the
was
fire
still
or
very
not?
nice.
Did they make the fire or not make the fire?
They did. They put us all together after I went and spoke to Eli. I was still not speaking to Byron at that point. I did speak to Byron the following day, and I said, like, I had my tail between my legs. I'm like, oh, I'm really sorry. I shouldn't have yelled at you like that. And then I think he said the same thing. But the deed had been done by that point,
The
and
damage was done, yeah.
yeah, it really ruined. I felt the worst I felt was for Tim, and you could tell from when you guys spoke to him the other day, he's kind of removed himself from the whole experience because of that. Like he said, he traveled to Sydney. This happened, and it was like, you don't need that happening to you. Like there's I think the people who play these games, I think you're an absolute dick if you're going to try and cheat to win an LRG, or what are these games are like. What's the point in cheating to win? Like, you're not winning money. Anyway, that's just my thought.
I think we talked about it at length
Mm.
at the last podcast about it, and I think that running these games is difficult and very stressful. It sounded like that. I'm trying to give some balance to it because people felt I was a bit one-sided on it last time. But I do think that I agree. You're not cheating. And look, what everyone was saying, to me if I'm wrong, is that lots of people were talking on lots of occasions, and lots of people got warned, and this was just the straw that broke the camel's back.
That is true. That is
Yeah.
true. I'm not going to deny that, but I just feel like
It's a bit harsh. It's a bit harsh, and there's other things you can do. I think this is
yeah.
the point we came to. You can penalize them in a challenge. You can make people have a penalty in a challenge. Start later in a challenge. There's lots of things you can do that are a punishment that's not an extra vote or a phantom vote, because that's just a little bit
Well,
too
something
extreme.
that's not game ending.
Or you can do phantom votes and not tell the rest of the cast that they're happening, and then you still get this random vote, and they say, they can say at the start of the thing, after votes are cast, FYI, there's a vote in here for Tim and there's a vote for Tyrone. That's because of some, what we've said about talking. They were talking, but it doesn't actually then, you might get 2 votes, but it doesn't, and maybe that pushes you over the line if you were already borderline. But it did feel like the vote on that episode turned to you and Tim because you had the
Yeah,
phantom vote.
yeah. It was so weird because it kind of came out of nowhere. Like we weren't even in the conversation at that point because you effectively, like Max said, there was 7 out of 10 or 7 out of 9 introverts at that point. Like why were 2 introverts being targeted at that vote when there were 2 extroverts or 3 extroverts to still get rid of?
Yeah. I'm a strong believer. As you know, in the real Survivor experience. I don't like the Canberra getting in a tent stuff. I don't like the, backyard tent stuff. I play Melbourne and we sleep in the rain and eat the rice we cook. However, it was pissing down after our first night, and they let us sleep under like a lean-to shed thing instead of sleep in the rain. You know, the fire that we'd made was still burning at the old camp, but they let us, like me and Brady and Keegan, put it in a ute and drove it over to where we were staying in the lean-to. So, like, you can be balanced a bit. This is an amateur game. It's not for sheep stations. Everyone there is a volunteer, the players and the crew, and that you can be. I think you're right to push for the fire. I don't think it's game breaking, and I think it's not going to be part of the television. If you can just get a fire that and keep yourself warm while being outside, I don't think that breaks the natural survivor element that I'm a big fan of. Like, I think that if you're going to be one of these seasons that pushes for people to sleep outside in the elements, which I think is the right way, then you need to provide some human attention by way of that. Like, for example, in Uncharted Waters, Danny's tribe could never make a fire because the other tribe could never make a fire because they were always going to tribal council. And then the other people's fire just burnt out, and because we kept them away from their camp for a bit because we did challenge and then tribal and then challenge and whatever that happens on the schedule. So I had the kitchen make them some plain rice to eat. Like, if they could have made rice, they would have, but they didn't get the chance because of us pulling them away from their fire. So, but I still just gave them plain rice. Like, some of this backyard nonsense where they're sitting around eating chips. They got plain rice. Well, Canberra has all the extra fruit as well. Like, at the end of season 2, they're drinking Powerades and stuff.
I did not eat anything on my season, and
No,
I
think there's a
slept.
balance.
I slept out there as well. I'll just have you know.
Okay, not you, Loz. Not all Canberrans.
Not me. I didn't
not all
even have
Canberrans.
breakfast.
But I agree with you. You're right to push for the fight. I think that makes sense.
Some of the best content actually was all behind the scenes. So it's a shame that there's no Sydney Survivor After Dark or something where it's all just me arguing with production about shit. That would have been hilarious.
That would actually be good content. Someone
It
should make
would.
an After Dark. For every one of these seasons, there should be an After Dark episode with all like the
Oh
behind the scenes
God.
content.
It'd be Sydney
Well,
Survivor
Just do
Untucked.
something else for production to come up with.
Or we all just wear body cams, and then it's just like a video of me like looking at Eli in the top of Eli's head because he's such a dwarf, and it's just me going off at him.
Yeah, good content. I got in a fight
Yeah.
with JP. I got in a fight with JP in my season. I yelled at him, and then like he wanted to get me kicked off the show because I'd yelled at him. And everyone told him to like calm the fuck down, JP. So yeah, this stuff will be good stuff. Anyway, thank you, Tyrone. I think that you're a star of the season. I think you're the star of the introverts. I think you gave the content that I was hoping. I think you could have given more bitchy
You say
behavior.
it like I've disagreed with you. When have I ever disagreed with you on this? You're just
I
trying to pick
never
a fight.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
You are.
But Tyrone never dragged me to hell, so I get it. I get it. I only have fond Tyrone memories. Um, no, you're great, and I'm so good. I can't believe the amount of People's Champions that have been spun up. Everyone but one has resulted in the People's Champion being spun up. Fate is in the hands of the people. Fate is in the hands of the fans, and they want these drinks. Looking forward to seeing you in person this Saturday.
Oh, sorry. One more thing you forgot to mention. This little Easter egg is Annabelle's line from her vote out in Traders season 2 when she talks about polar bears.
Yeah.
Do you remember that line that she delivered?
Did you specifically get that made for Annabelle?
Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful.
And I haven't worn this in 3 years or however long the fuck it was that season was filmed.
That's
This is
amazing.
the first
That's
time you've
beautiful.
worn it since.
No, why would I wear this?
They
you
have
worn your
such
go-
meaning then. It's I get really
Have you-
sentimental about that sort of stuff. I
I've
keep everything.
I've kept it. I've kept it, but it
Mm.
was like in the bottom of my
Mm.
my wardrobe.
I'm glad
Have you
you pulled
read
it
the-
out tonight then.
Have you worn your ghost type Pokemon singlet? since?
Oh, that one I wear all the time. That's one of my tennis shirts.
You love that. And thank you for Tyrone coming on, being a great part of the season, for being the People's Champion. We love
Thank
seeing
you. Thanks you guys too for putting this on. It's been like I said, it's been a good watch, really entertaining. You guys do a good job, and hopefully, more people like. I think hopefully more people cast like new people from the outside of the community. Like it's kind of it gets old seeing the same people over and over again.
Yeah, I think the seasons like to cast new people, but you can just cast me as many times as you like. Production. Or Loz.
I think we're done with CK. I think we've seen all of CK we need to see.
Incorrect. All right, thanks, Tyrone. Loved having you.
Brommy num, who gets the Brommy num?
What's going on here? Are you overruling me?
I mean, I'm being unbiased. I'm being objective. Oscar was Orca. This whole episode, he brought a season's worth of Orca into one episode. His confessionals, he was witty, he was biting, he was all of that we saw in his pre-game interview. We saw he was bantering properly with Mac and actually explaining it. And then he backed himself when all the rest of us and everybody else in the game truly thought he was the biggest goat in the game. He was getting dragged to the end because he was going to be so beatable. He's like, no, I think I can actually kick their asses, and managed to get there and win 2 votes off that jury. He was Orca epitomized in this episode. I love Tyrone. I do. You are trying to create a conflict where there is none, but he wasn't as Orca this season as I had hoped he would be. And I have to call it how I see it.
I agree. Oscar is the Brommy of this episode. I reserve my right that if we're going to do this finale though as double episodes, that I'm going to reserve a right to hand out a body of work Brommy at the end of the season if I feel that someone who should got a Brommy didn't get a Brommy. So I'm going to do that.
So now we're just adjusting the rules to suit.
I made up the rules in my rules. I created the whole system.
Well, you know what? If it'll make you feel better, we can give Tyrone a Brommy next episode because it's not going to impact the final outcome of Orca of the season.
No, it's just a nomination. It's a Brommy. People want these nominations now. It's not about Yeah,
People
that's
do,
right,
or
Matt.
you do?
What? Sorry.
People want these nominations now, or you just want to make sure the right people get the nominations?
No, the people want to be nominees. People care
Really?
about this now. Like 2 seasons ago, this was a thing that we did randomly, and now everyone are hungry to be Brommy nominees. And now I've done the stats, and we've got all stats about it and our things. I read back and retrospectively did Brommies for every other episode in the past.
Of course you did.
I think I gave you 3 Brommies over your season.
Oh yeah, it wasn't a thing, was it?
No.
Hmm.
So I went back and did it retrospectively based on episodes. Yeah, that's right. It's my podcast and I do what I want. That's the orca in me right there. Right, that's the orca pod.
Oh, it's nice to know where I stand.
Yeah. No, we're giving it to Oscar. It's Oscar. You're right. I can't not give it to Oscar, right? You're right about this.
Okay.
I'm just maybe going to give a body of work one next week. But
Okay.
you're right about Oscar. I cannot deny you. You don't even need to convince me. I know you're right before you even start saying it. But you're very convincing.
I'm usually right.
Yeah,
Usually.
yeah, I know you're right. I know you're right about this. It's Oscar.
I know.
Well done, Oscar. Mac wants to know if you've got an episode title or are you good?
I did, but I think I want to save it for next week because I'm fairly, from memory, I have a couple written down. One of them was just funny, and it was Tyrone saying that I choose violence, which I just thought was funny. But I'm pretty sure Chris said the quote that I picked as my episode title, and so I'd like to save it for next week when we talk to him.
Okay, sounds good. We will be back next week covering the final Tribal Council, speaking hopefully to all 3 of the finalists. Then after that, the Tea Party with some of the very powerful and well-loved Brommy nominees get cut. Invites yet to be sent. So Brommy nominee people who think they might be on the Tea Party, look out for your invitations. Then after that, I will be assembling the Congress of the Orcas. Once again, they've just been assembled and disassembled as Bree became our newest orca, and now they're going to be reassembled once more, like a bad Michael Bay Transformers movie, just assembling and disassembling and reassembling, because we have so much going on. They will assemble and they will vote. We had a lot of input into the Bree vote. A lot of the Congress voted. I will be interested to see how many of them come out for the vote on this one, but I expect many. And then after that, we will be covering something else. I'll announce that soon in the lulls between seasons that to come. For those of you that are in Melbourne, we hope to see you this Saturday for the live Uncharted Waters reunion and also live Orca show, where we'll be handing out official Bromelo medals to very, very special people.
Me?
You, me, Danny, maybe James Wolfe. All very James Wolfe, which this podcast is named after. In fact, this will be a very
Our namesake.
A special people if he arrives too. So we look forward to seeing all of those in Melbourne that are in Melbourne this Saturday. Otherwise, we'll be back next Monday with the finale coverage continuing. Thank you, Loz, for coming on and being a great part of this season. And thank you to Mac and Tyrone as well. We shall see you next week. Until then, we shall dance. I'm in more of a dancing mood now. Remember that sad dance we did that time?
We did one time. Yeah, we did.
Thanks,
That's happy
everybody.
dance.